In my last video, I showed you how I made these beats. But since BandLab is free and a lot of you use it, I know it for sure, today I'm gonna recreate it in BandLab. So if you wanna learn how to make Ken Carson and Carti type beats, then this video is for you. I'm gonna show you step by step how you can make the exact same rage beat. Let's not wait any longer, let's get started. The very first thing I wanna do here is to set my BPM. So here I'm gonna go with 142 BPM. Then we're going to start with this very first synth. As usual, I'm going to show you a simple trick to stay in the right key and just to target the right notes. So to avoid something that sounds dissonant. So I recommend you to use the smart view, especially if you don't play keyboard, if you don't know a lot about music theory. And here you can basically set a scale. So here we are actually in the scale of E Phrygian, which as you can see doesn't exist here in BandLab, but basically an E Phrygian scale is the same as a C major or an A minor natural scale. So you can just put C major, but here we don't start our melody here with a C, we start it here. So E is our root note, which is the main note if you want to, and so this is why I start my melody here. And this is what's going on here. Very simple, and then I have a top note. And together it sounds like that. Now, if you want to make your own beats, your own melodies, of course you can, so you can try something else. I'm just gonna keep that here. But, for example, you can start like that. You can try another note here. See, it would work, or you can change the rhythm here. So, for example, as well as the note. Anyway, you can really do whatever you want, but the main thing here is try to stay here on your main beat. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, this should be a 4-bar loop here, as you can see it here on top. All right. So this is important, and then what I did here was the following rhythm. So 1, then this is your second beat. So 1, 2, 3, and okay, this is an off beat. So let me put the click on. See, it's 1, 2, 3, and. So basically, this is just a repetition. So it's only a 2-bar loop. It's very, very basic here. What's special here is the rhythm, okay? So 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it starts again. Okay, very basic. And then you want to select a good sound. So, instrument, and this is the one I used, retro synth brass. Now, it should sound like that. But here we're making Ken Carson and Carti type beats. So you want to go here on effects and we need a distortion. It sounds more aggressive like that. A beat crusher, which is another type of distortion. Okay, those are the settings I used. You can copy them if you want to. And then a tremolo. You can play with the depth here. I put the speed at 100%, the spread on 0. This is just like your stereo image, so left and right. I want it here in the center. And then I'm just gonna turn it down as it was. There we go. When you're happy with that, you can just loop it like that if you want to. Or if you prefer, you can make it longer like that and then do a copy and paste. There we go. Alright, that's it for our first instrument. Now let's add another synth on top of it. So this was the second instrument I added. And this time I chose this one, Rhythm Partner. Okay, something like that, it works well. Again, here I started with an E because we're using an E Phrygian scale. For the melody, I recommend something simple. So as you can see, my melody lasts for 1 bar here, for 2 bars, sorry. And then it starts again, but with a different ending here. But as you can see, the beginning is the same here. Okay, those 2 notes are exactly the same. And that's a good trick if you want to learn how to make melodies, basically. Try to see it here as a loop, okay? This is the same, and this is the same. But the thing that is changing is what's happening here at the end of my loop. This is different, and this is different. So you could see it as A, B, A, and C. So one part, a different one. You go back to the main melody, and then a different part, a C part, and then it just starts again. For the effects here, I have univerb. This is just a reverb. Usually, if you add reverb on a synth, it's just going to sound a bit better, especially if it's a lead. Then stereo-wise, this is just to push the thing on the sides. This is more like a mixing technique here. So I can keep this in the middle. It's time to add another lead. This one is very, very basic, so I used this sound funky fat lead. Okay, and then the notes are just E and F. Here I change it on the 4th beat. Okay, so let's count it. Alright, the effects here are quite important, so this is the natural sound. First, a distortion, BL driver here. Beat crusher again. Ooh! See just how it makes a big difference. Yeah. And then again, tremolo. And already it starts sounding like a Ken Carson beat, just because of the sound design. So far, that's what we've got. Sheesh. It's time to add a new synth. Okay, so here we have this very plucky, aggressive sound, and the instrument I used is this one, trance pluck. Those are the notes, so D this time, and then this is E and E, so those are just octaves, and this is a D, and this time a B. Now we have some effects here. So first of all, I have this one. Which I don't really need it here actually, but anyway. Then I have a distortion and a beat crusher. I changed a bit the settings here. I wanted something more aggressive. Some reverb. And then Dimension B, and it just adds some vibe to it. It's like a chorus, really. There we go. All together. We need one more synth, and this time we're going to add a bass. So, I don't know what happened, but when I made the beat, it was actually a free synth. But now apparently it's only for the members, so you have to pay for it. Sorry about that. Let's try to find a free version instead. First of all, let me show you the effects here. So, this is the sound. Some distortion here with bit bandit. BL driver, more distortion. And a filter just to cut the lows if needed. If you want to add an 808 on top of it, then you want to cut the lows. But if this is your main bass and 808, then you don't need to cut the lows here. Okay, let's cut it for now. So if you cannot use this one, just use this one, for example, it works as well. Boog bass. Even this one. I think here it's more about the effects I added. So yeah, use one of those. There we go. For the notes, this is quite simple. So you want to start with an E if you're making your bass line. That's very important. And then it should fit well with your main chords here. See, I just follow those notes here. We had E, F, D. Okay, on the bass, E, F. Then I have this little thing going on. But basically, yeah, the changes are E and F. Now you should have something like that. Woo. Not too bad for BandLab beats, honestly. Last but not least, we need to add some drums. Okay, so for the drums this time, you don't want to create a virtual instruments track, but you want to create here a sampler track. This is always how I do my drums. I don't like the drum machine here. I don't think it's really good. So try to use a sampler track. And then here at the bottom left, you should have something like that. Okay, this is my drum kit. You can have access to it on Patreon, so support me if you want to use the exact same drum samples. If not, you can use BandLab's free sounds here, and you want to go through samples, and then use the filter here. Filters, yeah, one shot, okay, and then you can look at, for example, hi-hats, and you can make your drum kit like that. Then you're just going to drag and drop it here in your sampler, and you have it here. Alright, but I think I have some better samples here that I took some time to carefully choose, because it's really important to get the right sound if you want to make a beat in a certain style. So here I needed those sort of samples. Okay. Quite good, I think, for this style. So when you import your samples here, you can adjust the volume. So usually I would turn down the hats. Okay, if they're too loud. You can turn it down here. And then in some cases I can turn it up or down, turn up or down the kick, the claps. And here you have your main volume, of course, for all your drum samples. What's important here is this as well, some FX. And this as well. It's quite good for this sort of rage beats. Okay, let me show you actually how you can make the drums. So I don't remember exactly how I started it, but probably here, start with your hats. So very basic here, simple hats. There we go. Okay, so this is the hats, and then I recommend you to put your claps. So if you're starting making beats, you can have claps on 3 here. 1.3, 2.3. Okay, this is the very basic trap rhythm here. And don't make something like too difficult, too technical to start with. Just go with something like that. There we go. And if you have that as a starting point, then it's going to be way easier to make your beats and to make sure just that they are on time. Because sometimes when people start making beats, things are out of time. And this is something that makes your beat really weak. So with that sort of starting point here, you can't really go wrong. All you need to add is a kick. You can just put it here on the first beat. Okay, very basic. You can also put it here, just before the clap. Also, usually, you can put it here on the 4th beat. Quantize. So use quantize just to make it stick to the grid. There you go, very basic. And then just play around, so you can have something like that. Just find something that you like, but I gave you really the simple steps to follow and to make sure that everything's on time. Okay, and then you can play with the FX. So, for example, this one. And I played with this as well. So this was on 2 and 4, I think. Yeah, nice. To 4.4, quantize, there we go. And you don't really need more than that. Of course, if you want, you can have your open hats. Okay, and of course you can also have hi-hat rolls, for example here, to make it shorter. Then you press Option and Command, I think, yeah. Okay, you can zoom in, make it shorter, like that. There we go. So you can make those kind of things, and this is how it sounds like. There we go, we have a beat going on. Then you can make your structure here. So just gonna copy and paste everything here. And yeah, cut the drums at the beginning, for example. And here, just get rid of the kick. There we go. Let's just start with the pluck. And this one. Drums. Everything. You can, for example, cut the bass here. Make a build up, so you have everything but the drums. Can cut the melody here. So I have the melody, this one, just on the build up. then everything together, and I think that will be it for this simple rage beat. This is the end of this video. This is the end of this Ken Carson and Carti tutorial. I hope that you liked it. Let me know what you think in the comments. As usual, you can support me. You can purchase my drum kit on Patreon, or you can just support me for free by subscribing to my channel and by hitting the like button. I'll see you very soon for a new tutorial, a new video. Stay tuned. Take care. Bye bye.